All right, so get this. We're diving into a world today where athletes can literally fly. Like they have shields that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like how they play the game depends on this special energy.
It's Manaball, yeah. It's not your average sport, I'll tell you that.
So it's kind of like if soccer and hockey had a baby,
Mm,
but then that baby was also magic or something.
exactly. It's got all that stuff. The goals, the teamwork, the hardcore fans. But then there's mana, and that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, mana. I'm not going to lie, that's a new one for me. Is it like, I don't know, magical powers?
Pretty much. Basically, in their world, mana is this energy that flows through everything. And the players in Manaball have learned to tap into it. So it's like fuel, you know? It powers everything they do, from flying to controlling the ball to like defensive moves and things.
Hold up. Did you say spells? Are we talking about athletes casting spells now?
Oh, yeah. But it's not like Harry Potter or anything. It's more strategic. Like you can use mana to make a shield that blocks a shot or mess with your opponent's mana so they're off their game.
My brain is already overloaded, and we haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the goal? Is it like soccer where you have to get the ball in the net?
Yep. You got 2 teams, 5 players each. They're on a field with goals at both ends, just like soccer. And the whole point is to score more points than the other team. Simple as that. But how they do it? Well, that's where things get wild.
Okay, got it. Basic setup, check. But how does this whole mana thing actually work in a match? Like, what's that look like?
So picture this. Each player, they only have a certain amount of mana. And they use it for everything. I'm talking running super fast, flying for those cool aerial plays, using the spells we talked about. It all takes mana.
So it's not just about being, like, in shape. They got to be smart about their mana, too.
I got it. If
Yeah.
they use it all up too fast, they're pretty much useless until they recharge.
How do they recharge? Do they, like, go sit in a corner and meditate or something?
No, nothing like that. They regain mana slowly as they play, or they can sum out to get a faster recharge. But, and this is what makes it really interesting, they can instantly refill their mana if they pull off a risky play.
Ooh. So it's like a gamble. Makes it way more exciting. It's not just about playing it safe. It's about taking those chances that could totally turn the game around.
Exactly. That's what makes Manaball so fun to watch. You never know when some crazy awesome move is going to happen and change everything.
Okay, I am officially hooked. So I'm picturing these players. They're flying through the air. There's shields everywhere, maybe some mana stealing. What does a real mana ball match actually look like?
Okay, so the game starts with a face-off, kind of like hockey, where 2 players go head-to-head for the ball.
All right, so it starts off kind of normal. But I bet it doesn't stay that way for long, right?
Nope. Once they get that ball moving, it's all levitation and bursts of speed. They use their mana to zip around the field like it's nothing.
Wait, hold on. Levitation? Like actual flying? For real?
Yeah. Think of it like a super jump, but way better. Helps them cover ground fast. But there's a trade-off. The higher they fly, the more mana it takes, and the bigger the risk.
Ah, I see. So you can't just fly as high as you want. It's all about balance, being fast but not wasting your mana.
Exactly. Plus, don't forget, they can still get physical out there. Even with the magic stuff, Manaball is still a full contact sport.
So we're talking tackles, body checks, that sort of thing.
You betcha. But it's not just about brute strength. Players can use mana to like mess with their opponents, knock the ball loose, We call them poke checks. Basically, they send a jolt of mana at the other guy.
It's like a magical steal.
Yeah, pretty much. Adds a whole other level to defense. And speaking of defense, let's talk about shields.
Yes. Shields. You can't forget those. Tell me everything. How do they even work?
Oh, shields are crucial. Players use their mana to create these barriers, like force fields, Block shots, get in the way, protect their teammates. It's all about shields.
So it's like a magic force field that just pops up. Yeah, exactly. Timing is everything, though. Place a shield right, and you shut down the whole play, mess it up, and, well, you're in trouble.
This is getting wild. So players are flying, shields are going up, mana's being drained left and right. What other crazy stuff can they do?
Well, besides those defensive shields, they can use mana for offense, too. Remember those spells we talked about?
Yeah. Like messing with someone's mana. Are there any other kinds of offensive spells?
Oh, yeah, tons. It's like special moves in a video game. Each one has a cost, takes time to recharge, and you got to use them strategically.
So it's not just about using spells all the time. It's about picking the right one at the right time.
You got it. Some are quick and easy. Others are super powerful but take forever to recharge. And, of course, some are banned because they're just too OP.
Banned spells. What kind of spell would be too much for Manaball?
Imagine a spell that could just teleport the ball into the other team's goal. Not very fun to watch, right? True. That would kind of ruin the whole point. So it's all about that balance, magic, and strategy all mixed together. Man, this is blowing my mind. I'm starting to get why this is more than just a sport. It's like athleticism, strategy, and magic all rolled into one.
And we haven't even gotten to the players themselves. They all have their own specialties, like roles they play on the field.
Oh, right. The players. Do they have specific positions, like in, say, basketball?
Oh, absolutely. Just like any sport, mana ball players have their strengths, based on their skills and how they use their mana. So you got your strikers, the guys who are all about scoring those goals.
The sharpshooters.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What other kinds of players are there?
Well, then you got your enforcers. They're like the muscle, all about defense, not afraid to get physical.
Okay, the heady hitters.
Yeah.
I like it. Who else is on this magical dream team?
You've also got the playmakers. They're like the brains of the operation, setting up plays, controlling the flow of the game.
So they're the ones with the vision, the passing skills, kind of like quarterbacks, but for Manaball.
That's a great way to put it. Then you've got your shielders. I bet you can guess what they're all about.
Let me guess. Creating those impenetrable barriers to keep their team safe.
Exactly. Timing and positioning, that's their whole thing. Got to read the opponent, know when and where to put up that wall.
Sounds like it takes some serious reflexes. And they got to know the game inside and out. Who else is in this lineup?
We can't forget about the mana controllers. They're like the puppet masters, messing with the other team's mana to throw them off.
Wow, that's crazy strategic. Like they're literally controlling the energy of the game.
You got it. They can shut down levitation, spells, even just running fast. A good mana controller can turn a whole game around.
So it's not just defense. They're shaping how the game plays out. It's like a chess match, but on the field.
That's a great analogy. And of course, there are the goalies. They're the last line of defense, standing between the other team and that goal.
Yeah, I bet they need nerves of steel. Imagine facing those mana-powered shots coming at you.
Tell me about it. Goalies are essential. Their saves can be just as amazing as any goal scored.
Okay, so far we've got strikers, enforcers, playmakers, shielders, mana controllers, and goalies. Any other positions on a Manaball team?
Oh yeah, there's a few more that bring some extra spice to the game. There's snipers. They can score from practically anywhere on the field. Long-range specialists.
Ah, those are the ones hitting those crazy shots that make the crowd go wild.
You know it. Then you got the acrobats. They're all about agility. Dodging, weaving through defenders, defying gravity.
Like a mix of athlete, dancer, and magician all in one.
I like that. And lastly, there's the infiltrators. Think stealth, deception. They sneak past the defense and score before anyone knows what hit them.
Wow, it's amazing how each player type brings something different. Like a perfectly coordinated team all working together.
That's exactly it. Manaball isn't just about individual talent. It's about how all those talents come together to make a team that's greater than the sum of its parts.
So it's not just about being strong or having cool powers. It's about using your brain, working as a team, and knowing how to use your mana right.
You nailed it. It's a sport that rewards brains and creativity as much as raw power.
I'm starting to get a real feel for how complex Manaball really is.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the magic, but it's still a sport, right? So they got to be physically fit, too. What does it take to be a Manaball athlete?
Oh, yeah. Don't let all the fancy spells fool ya. These guys are in incredible shape.
Makes sense. So what are some of those physical skills? What do they need to be good at?
Well, strength, for one. Especially for those enforcers. Got to hold their
Right.
ground, deliver those tackles.
All right, strength. Got it. What else is important?
Speed and agility are huge. They got to move fast, change directions on a dime, especially with all the levitation going on.
And hand-eye coordination, too, right? Think of all the aerial plays, catching the ball, all that.
You can't forget that. And stamina. Don't underestimate how tiring Manaball is. It's fast-paced, intense. They got to keep going the whole game.
It's like a marathon and a sprint at the same time, but with magic.
What about mentally, though? I feel like Manaball takes some serious brain power, too.
Oh, absolutely. You got to be sharp to play this game. Mental game is just as important as physical.
I can imagine. What kind of mental skills are we talking about?
Thinking on your feet, making decisions in a split second, predicting what your opponent's going to do.
Like playing speed chess. I'm seeing now how Manaball challenges you physically and mentally.
That's the beauty of it. Plus, there's that whole mana management layer on top of everything else. Got to track your energy levels, decide when to use your mana, when to hold back.
So it's not just about going all out all the time. You got to be smart, conserve your energy, pick your moments.
Right. It's all about strategy. That's one of the things that makes Manaball so different from other sports.
Okay, with all this strategy talk, what happens when a match ends in a tie? Do they have, like, a magical duel or something to decide the winner? Haha, not quite a duel, but it's definitely intense. Manaball ties are settled with a one-on-one showdown right there in the middle of the field. No goalies, no teammates, just two players head-to-head until someone scores.
Now that's pressure.
Yeah.
Who gets chosen for this ultimate showdown?
Usually it's the team captains or maybe the players who were really killing it during the game.
So it comes down to pure skill and grit. I bet the crowd goes nuts during those tiebreakers. Speaking of the crowd, what's it like being a spectator at a Manaball match? Is it like a big, passionate fan base?
Oh, yeah. Manaball fans are diehard. The energy in those arenas is electric. They roar for every goal, every big hit, every crazy dodge, every spell. It's a total sensory overload.
I can picture it now. The lights, the cheers,
Mm.
and seeing those gravity-defying moves in person. What are some of the things that really get the fans going?
Well, goals are always a big deal, of course. But they love those big hits, too. When someone gets sent flying from a tackle or a well-timed poke check.
Yeah, I can see that. There's something so satisfying about a perfect defensive play. What else makes the crowd go wild?
Dodging. When a player manages to dodge like 5 tackles in a row or just weaves through defenders like they're not even there, the crowd goes crazy.
That's like watching a ballet dancer who's also a ninja warrior.
That's a great way to put it. And then, of course, there's the stylish moves. Anytime someone does something flashy, the crowd loses it.
Stylish moves? What does that even mean in Manaball?
It's those moments when a player does something totally unexpected. An impossible shot, some crazy maneuver, like they're breaking the rules of how the game's supposed to be played.
So it's about pushing the limits, showing off your skills, using mana in creative ways.
Exactly. And get this, if a player pulls off a stylish move, they instantly get a mana boost.
Whoa, really? So the game itself rewards creativity.
That's right. It's like the sport itself is saying, hey, think outside the box, go for it.
I love that. It's like Manaball is all about celebrating human potential and what we can do with mana.
Exactly. And that spirit of innovation, it's part of Manaball's history, too.
Oh, right. We haven't talked about how this amazing sport even came to be. Did someone just wake up one day and decide to combine soccer, hockey, and magic?
No. It's got a long, fascinating history. It actually evolved from a much older sport called score sport.
Score sport? What was that like?
Simpler game, no mana. And get this, it started as a way to settle arguments peacefully.
So Manaball came from conflict resolution. That's an interesting twist.
Back then, instead of dueling or fighting, people would challenge each other to score sport matches. It was a way to channel that aggression, you know.
More civilized way to fight.
You got it. But then, as people learned more about mana, they started using it in score sport. And eventually, boom, Manaball was born.
I could see how adding mana would totally change the game.
Oh, it did. All of a sudden, you got players levitating, moving at insane speeds, using spells to outsmart their opponents. It took the whole thing to another level.
So it evolved over time as people figured out how to use mana in new ways.
Exactly. And it's still evolving. Manaball is always changing. New techniques, new spells. It never gets old.
It's like a living, breathing sport, constantly pushing the boundaries. Does Manaball have any big rivalries, like legendary players, that sort of thing?
Tons of rivalries. Oh, yeah. Especially at the professional level. Centuries of history, you know. One of the biggest is between the Azure Bears and the Golden Eagles. They're like the top dogs, always battling it out.
So like the Yankees and Red Sox, but for Manaball.
Exactly. Every match is a must-see. The fans go crazy.
And what about legendary players? Are there any big Manaball heroes everyone knows?
Oh, yeah. They even have a Hall of Fame full of players who changed the game. One of the biggest legends is Lyra. She was a playmaker known for her incredible agility. She could weave through defenders like it was nothing. And her signature move, Lyra's Leap. It was legendary.
Lyra's Leap, what was that?
The spell that let her dodge in midair, defying gravity, changing direction. It was practically impossible to stop her.
Sounds incredible. It's amazing how Manaball has its own history, legends, rivalries, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But with all this talk of magic and high-level play, I gotta ask, can anyone play Manaball? Or is it just for, like, superhumans with years of training?
Great question. So pro Manaball is super competitive, obviously. But there's also something called casual Manaball, and that's for everyone. You don't even need to have magic powers.
Really? So even us regular folks can experience Manaball?
Absolutely. Casual Manaball doesn't use mana, so no flying or spells. It goes back to the basics, more like regular sports.
So it's like a simplified version, so anyone can try it out.
You got it. And you can change the rules to fit different ages and skill levels, fewer players, smaller field, whatever works.
That's awesome. Sounds like Manaball really does have something for everyone, from diehard fans to casual players just looking for some fun.
That's part of what makes it so special. It's a sport that anyone can enjoy, no matter who you are or what your skill level is.
I'm so impressed with everything about Manaball. We've covered, like, everything. How it's played, the different players, the physical and mental stuff, the history, the fans. So, in your expert opinion, what makes Manaball so unique? What sets it apart from all the other sports out there?
I think it's how Manaball combines athleticism, strategy, and magic. It's this perfect blend of all three. Mana adds a whole new dimension to sports. It's not just about how strong you are, it's about how you use your mana, how you make it part of your game plan.
It's like a sport that's made for your body and your mind.
Exactly. And because mana is limited, players have to be even more strategic, even more creative. You can't just rely on brute force or spells. Got to think carefully about every move.
It's a high-stakes game of resource management. Every decision counts, for you and for your team.
You got it. And that's what makes it so fun to watch. It's a sport that's always evolving, always challenging players to be their best. It rewards creativity, intelligence, teamwork, and the magic. That just makes it even more amazing.
That's a great way to put it. Manaball is more than just a game. It's a celebration of what humans can do. Our drive to push ourselves, to come up with new ideas, to work together, it's all there.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Manaball, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've learned a lot about this incredible sport, but what if there's even more out there? What if there are parts of Manaball that we haven't even begun to imagine?
That's an awesome thought. We talked about all the spells and abilities that we know of, but who knows? Maybe there are hidden techniques, untapped potential.
Exactly. So here's a challenge for everyone listening. If you could invent a brand new Manaball spell, what would it be? What would it do? How would it change the game? And what kind of player would use it?
I'm already excited to hear what people come up with. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up episode and share some of the best ideas.
That's a great idea. But until then, keep those imaginations running wild. The world of Manaball is limited only by our creativity.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to start your own casual Manaball league and get everyone playing.
On that note, it's time for us to sign off.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Manaball. It's been awesome.
And to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and may your mana reserves always be full. As we've been talking about all this Manaball stuff, it's kind of made me think about, I don't know, like real life too.
Yeah, I get that. It's like on the surface, it's this crazy game with flying and magic. But when you really look at it, it's kind of about, what humans can do and how we can be awesome both as individuals and when we work together.
Totally. Like we talked about all those different players, right? All those cool skills and powers.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that no one player can win a game by themselves. You got to have teamwork, communication, a good plan. That's how you win.
Absolutely. And that's where the mana thing gets really interesting. It's something everyone has to deal with, Not just for yourself, but for the whole team. It's like, do I go all out and risk running out of mana? Or do I play it safe and save my energy? Do I just focus on myself? Or do I help my teammates out?
It's kind of like real life when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We all have limited resources, right? Time, energy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make choices about how we use them. Do we keep it all for ourselves, or do we share and try to achieve something bigger together?
That's what makes Manaball so cool. It's not just about winning or losing. It's about those moments when people connect, when they're selfless, when they make smart decisions. That's how a team can overcome anything.
And it's all happening with magic and crazy awesome moves and stuff.
For sure. The magic makes it super fun to watch. But at its heart, Manaball is about the human spirit. Our competitive drive, our ability to invent new things, our power to do amazing things when we work together.
You said it. Manaball isn't just some game. It's like a reflection of what we're capable of as individuals and as a species.
Exactly. Even with all the magic and stuff, it's the human element that really shines through.
So well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Manaball, I want to leave our listeners with one last thing to think about. What if there's even more to discover? What if there are parts of Manaball that we haven't even imagined yet?
Whoa, now that's an interesting thought. We talked about all the spells and abilities we know about, but who's to say there isn't more out there? Hidden techniques, untapped potential.
Exactly. So here's a challenge for everyone listening. If you could invent a brand new Manaball spell, what would it be? What would it do? How would it change the whole game? And what kind of player would use it?
Oh, man. I can't wait to hear what people come up with. Maybe we'll have to do another episode and talk about some of the best ideas.
That's a great idea. But until then, keep those imaginations going. The world of Manaball is as big as our creativity.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a blast exploring Manaball with you.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and may your mana reserves always be full.